Here's a one skillet turkey recipe. To me, that's a victory, right? Anything you can do in one skillet with a handful of ingredients, you're gonna do that more often than something that's very complicated. First thing I do with my wild turkey breast is to brine it. Now, I use a commercial brine. I use the High Mountain Game, Bird, and Poultry brine. If you don't have the High Mountain Game, Bird, and Poultry brine, take a half a gallon of water and a half cup each of kosher salt and brown sugar. Leave it in there overnight. What that's gonna do is it's gonna add moisture. It's also gonna add a little bit of salt. So when you go to season it afterwards, you wanna use less salt. On a turkey breast this size, I would brine it for maybe 6 hours. Wild turkey isn't dry. Overcooked wild turkey is dry. If you have an old Tom, it's gonna be a little tougher than a young Jake. That's just the way it is. I'm gonna cut these into user-friendly pieces so they'll cook a little quicker. In the skillet, I already have some butter. I'm gonna crank up the heat a little bit. The butter's gonna give it flavor. And this Lodge olive oil here is going to give it a higher burning point and give it a little bit more flavor. Once this is hot, I'm gonna add my wild turkey to it. I'm gonna use a little less. I would not use a real high salty product. This one is not. A whole bunch of garlic cloves, but first, the turkey into the pan. So how do I know if my wild turkey is cooked properly? I'm gonna go for about 145-degree internal temperature here. I know you're thinking, wait a minute, it's gotta be 160 or everybody dies. 145, it's going to keep cooking. I'm gonna add a little bit more liquid into it too, and I'm gonna get it to, at the very, very, very most, 160. All right, browned on one side, brown the other side. I like it to be browned because that's gonna give it more flavor. And now I'm gonna add some whole garlic cloves and some red onion. A little wild turkey stock that I made from my wild turkey carcasses and legs and thighs. That's gonna add some moisture to it. There's also a little bit of salt in there too, so again, watch out for the salt. This piece here, let's take a look inside. That piece of turkey there is cooked all the way through. This is done. This, now, if I had kept cooking that, it wouldn't taste nearly as tender as that. You can always cook it a little bit more if you must, but I like it to be just a tad pink in the center. It's gonna keep cooking. That's perfect. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get the rest of these out of here while I brown up my garlic, because I can always throw stuff back in the pan. Once that garlic is browned, I'm gonna take some of this liquid out and kind of start over to make a smooth, creamy sauce. Otherwise, I'm going to have a brown, not quite so attractive sauce. All right, I've wiped out my pan. The pan is clean. Now for a little cream sauce. You start with a little white wine. Here's some more of that wild turkey stock. Gonna whisk in some heavy cream. Just wanna kind of keep it moving. A little black pepper. And you can still use just a pinch or two of just plain old salt. I'm gonna throw the turkey in there just to warm it up. We're about a minute away from a finished sauce. Here's my whole garlic cloves. Now some fresh basil. If you don't have any fresh basil, you could use a little cilantro, you could use parsley. I happen to think that basil goes really well with this. Basil and Parmesan cheese. If you don't like Parmesan cheese, use whatever cheese you like. I want to get that turkey out of there so that it does not overcook. I've got some brown rice and quinoa here. Here's my delicious little turkey nuggets. There's a little extra sauce and some garlic right on top. And for some color, I've got some fresh little tomatoes, a little chiffonade of basil on top. In just a few minutes, you can transform a ordinary wild turkey breast into something juicy, creamy, cheesy. and especially delicious.